What's up, everybody? Well, I got another video for you guys on the Asus G15 Advantage today, and today we're going to do another SSD upgrade. Now, you guys are probably sitting there going, well, wait a minute, didn't you already do that? Well, yes, I did, but all I did was add a secondary drive, and that's pretty self-explanatory and easy. So this time around, I figured, well, what if you want to get a new drive for your main drive and get rid of the 512 or the 1 terabyte drive yours comes? Well, and without losing any of your data and keeping it exactly the way it was before. Now, a lot of people would just install a new drive and put Windows 11 or 10 on a USB drive and just reinstall Windows. But mine's been working really good as far as software goes. My temps, since I messed with it, have been a little weird, but that's not the laptop's fault. That's my bad. I should have left well enough alone, but I'm a tinkerer. I love tinkering with laptops, and sometimes tinkering bites you in the ass. But anyway, so I figured in this video, I would show you guys how to upgrade the main drive while retaining everything being exactly the same as you left it. And luckily, since I've gone with a Samsung 2 terabyte 970 Evo Plus, this should allow me to use that Samsung Medition software to just basically clone my 512 gig drive to this new 2 terabyte one here. Now, how am I going to do that, you ask? Since I already have a secondary drive in there, a 2 terabyte, I think Silicon Power of some kind, I can't remember the exact one, but you know, a lot of people won't have one of those in there, so maybe they just don't want 512, so they'll just chop a new one in there, and then you can just throw your new drive into the secondary drive and, you know, go get some software, what have you, and clone your shit, and it'll be totally cool. But for me, I've already got a secondary drive in there, so how am I supposed to do that? Well, I thought about that. Now, I could just take my other drive out for a second, plug this one into its spot, clone it, and then take it all apart, but I don't like doing that if I don't have to. I don't want to have to sit there and undo that drive, and I just sitting there thinking, oh, no, it should be fine, you know, take it out, put it back in, everything should work fine, but with my luck, it wouldn't. So what I've done is I have gotten a little SSK M.2 NVMe SSD enclosure. Now, this one does both USB 3.0 and also USB-C. So I'm going to try hooking up to USB-C. I don't know if this laptop even does data through the USB-C. I think it does. I know it does video, but don't know what else it can do. It can charge and do video. So maybe it can do data too. I guess we'll find out. So I'm going to plug this guy into here, and then that way we won't have to, you know, mess with the other drive that's already in there. I can just transfer my 512 gig drive to this guy, and then we can open up the thing and actually get to putting it in. So why don't we go do the boring part first and go get this thing cloned, and then we'll move on from there. So when you first install your drive in the little SSD caddy thing, you'll want to come in here and go to your disk management. And the first thing it'll pop up and it'll want you to initialize the drive. So just hit the GMT one, hit OK, and then it'll show up as disk 2 down here as unallocated space. So after that, we can minimize that, and you can go to Samsung's website and download Medition software. So just let's hit download on there. It's a very small thing. Oops, hit the wrong button. I kind of hate that stupid thing down there. I wish there was a way to disable it, but anyway, now let's install our program here. Give it a couple seconds to pop up. There it goes. And now you're going to want to install it. Hit the accept agreement button there. Accept again. Next. And I'm going to create a desktop icon, even though I'm probably just going to uninstall it later, but you can do whatever you want there, and then just start installing it. Doesn't really take it that awful long to install, really. To be honest, I kind of thought it got stuck here. I was like, hey, what the hell? You were zooming around. Well, what the hell's taking so long? But there we go. Finish the installation. And then after that, we can close that. We don't need it anymore. And you can launch Samsung Medition and minimize that. And then after that, we can go ahead and move on to the next step. Well, I ran into a small little snag here, but if your device is on like a laptop or something and it has encryption turned on by default, you have to decrypt the drive first. Otherwise, you cannot clone it, which makes sense. It'd be pretty pointless to have if somebody could just go clone all your data onto a drive anytime they wanted. So I have to wait for this to get done, so I think this is gonna have to be a video for another day, but luckily you guys don't have to wait. Well, all right, we have gotten all done transferring our Windows and everything that was on the 512 gig stock drive to our external hard drive here. So now with that, we should be able to take it out of this enclosure and then get it installed into the laptop, and then it should boot up just like it would if the 512 stock drive was installed, like nothing ever happened. Well, as long as I did everything right, but I did, and it shut the computer off just like it did on every other time I've used Samsung Edition, so it should have worked. Little annoying to have to decrypt my drives, but it is what it is. It is a laptop. This is the first time I did it on a laptop, but anyway, without blabbering on and on anymore, why don't we get this laptop turned off so we can get this guy installed? And then I just remembered, as soon as we know that everything works, we can just put the 512 gig drive in that little M.2 drive I got and have a super quick 512 gigs of space to just swap around. So that'll be nice. Anyway, let's get to breaking into this laptop and installing this drive, shall we? Well, we've got the laptop all disconnected of all of its cords and whatnot and have it flipped upside down. So now we can get to getting into the laptop, and I finally got something else just a little while ago. I finally got my Linus Tech Tip screwdriver, so I figured why don't we use this to undo everything. So what do we got in here? We'll do like a mini unboxing. So they give you a cool little thing, tells you about all this stuff, additional bits probably, yep, additional bits you can get, and then look at that. Looks pretty nice. Probably some bits right here. Yep, sounds like bits. And you've got your screwdriver, very nice. Hefty, feels very high quality, but it better. It was 80 bucks shipped. So let's get that out of there. Get that out of there. And now, why don't we get started with opening the laptop now. Before we start here, I figured we'd go over a couple tools that'll be helpful to have. Obviously, you need a screwdriver, and then, hey, check that out. Put all the bits inside of there like that. Boom. Now they're out of the way, and I don't think it locks or anything. Maybe it does, but there we go. That's where you go. So you need a screwdriver. It's a Phillips, just a Phillips, nothing fancy. You don't need Torx or anything to get this guy open. You're gonna need some kind of pry bar, whether it's one of these or one of the little guitar picky things. Then you can also gonna need some tweezers, and that's just for taking off the ribbon cables if you so choose. Now that I know how, I'll show you guys how to do that. And then last but not least, I would recommend some little dish or something to put all the screws in so you don't lose them. This one is magnetic, so we for sure aren't losing them. In fact, I'm just gonna put it in this little cup holder so it's not even getting in my way on the table. So now we can actually get into unscrewing these guys, or these screws, and get into the laptop. Well, let's get started unscrewing. Now, normally this screw will not come out all the way. It'll make a little click and you'll wanna stop, but unfortunately not unfortunately, but I took the little clip off of it, so now it just comes out. So yours won't unless you really go to town. Come here, you. It won't come out. It'll just keep spinning around pretty much endlessly. There we go. Definitely taking some getting used to for this guy. This is definitely bigger than the other screwdriver I've got. There we go. But at least now with this wireless mic, I can move wherever I want and you guys will hear me fine. And the way I've got it set up now, yeah, it's not like a direct overhead view or anything, but at least you guys can see what I'm doing. All we're doing is unscrewing. And if anybody, obviously a lot of people already know how to take screws out by now, but I don't know, I kind of like this part. Get in there, you. These ones are a lot longer now. All the short ones go in the front here. So just keep that in mind when you go to the putting the screws back at the end part. There we go. We'll go a little faster if we do this too. Probably the way it was intended. Go. Oh, thought that one was all the way out. It lied. Fibber. There we go. Just 2 more screws to go. And obviously anybody who doesn't want to see this part can just skip and don't want to watch me just talk and take out screws. That's why I always do chapters, so people can get right to the meat and potatoes of the video if they so choose. So there we are. We've gotten all the screws out. Just always good to double check, because you don't want to go wrenching on it with one of these if it's not actually, if all the screws aren't out. You're gonna go have a very bad time. So now we can go ahead and start getting into this thing. Well, I always get this part started off camera just because it's kind of hard to see, but all you gotta want to do is take your tool, pry it right here to get started or right here to get started. Those are the 2 easiest parts to get started on the whole laptop. And then what you're gonna want to do is just keep on jamming it in there. There's little spots that you can see too that are literally designed for it. You can kind of see them. You have a light source, and just keep going around like that with some authority and just go around the whole laptop with it, and then we'll get to and then you can start carefully taking it off, which we'll get to in a second. I'll just finish this off camera. Well, now that you've gone around with your little tool here and gotten all the stuff loosened up, once you get to about this point, you don't have to go around the whole thing, but then just lightly come up and then be very careful of this part. It'll make a bunch of cracking and creaking noises on the parts that you didn't undo yet, but you have to be very, very careful because I don't know if you guys can see it, but there's some little ribbon cables right here, and you have to be very, very careful with those. If you just go ripping the laptop lid off, those are probably going to get ripped off, and then there goes your RGB. Now, for the people who don't care about RGB, you're not going to care, but for everybody who does, you don't want to do that. So I'm going to show you guys real quick how you can take them off. I was scared to do it before because I just didn't understand what to do, but there's just little black latches that you just gently move up. Then you grab the little blue label, pull, comes right out, come over to the second one here. I wish I could zoom in and show you guys easier, but doesn't work. Pull out with a little tab, and there we go. Now you can disconnect your lid and put it somewhere safe, and I would recommend cleaning it if yours is like mine and gets used a lot. There's a lot of dust in the two little air holes there, so just make sure you dust. This is also a great time to dust the whole laptop out, so I might just do that too. So I'm just gonna put that off to the side, and then we'll continue on. Well, now we've gotten to the point where you're gonna wanna take your stock drive out. So again, you're gonna need your Phillips screwdriver here, and hopefully this one is not in there as hard as this one. This one I almost stripped the damn screw. I had to get pliers to help me get that one out because I didn't want to strip the screw. Hopefully. Nope, that one's easy as freaking pie. All right, there. And then all you have to do is very carefully slide it to the left, and there you go. There's the stock drive right there. Definitely not bad. Finally learned how to autofocus a little bit. There's hair and whatnot all over this. Anyway, now all we have to do is get this out of here and plop it on in there. And you can also see this is where your wireless card hides. So that's probably why that was so loose, because I already took it out once before to get that. So yours may be tight. I can't remember honestly at this point whether mine was or not. So now I'm gonna get my drive out of this little enclosure, and then we'll get to installing the little bad boy. Well, now we've got our 2 terabyte Samsung drive here all ready to be installed. So why don't we go ahead and install it? So all you have to do is the reverse of what you did to take the other one out. Well, first, don't push your laptop off the table. That would be rule number 1. And there you go. It's installed. Slide it to the right, and bam, it's installed. Now all we've got to do is this part. So just hold it down with one finger. This is a very small screw, so I may mess this up once. And here we go. Just snug. You don't have to wrench on it. Just make it snug. And there we go. Your new drive is installed. And as long as I did everything properly, it should boot into Windows just like I left it. If I didn't do everything properly, I'm going to have to install my older drive back in and figure out what happened. But I'm just going to pretend I did everything right because I should have, so it should work. So now let's go get that lid back on there. Well, first I'm going to run a quick blower thing over these things already. I already did the fans off camera because they were already looking pretty nasty, but I want to just do another quick sweep just to get all the vents and whatnot while I've got a chance. And then we'll be right back and start reassembling the bastard. Now, let's do a reverse of what we did. We've got to hook our ribbon cables back up, of course. So all you're going to want to do is get your lid situated to where there's not a lot of tension on your little ribbon cables, and then just do a reverse. Grab the little blue thing, slam it down into the little slide. Make sure it's seated good on all sides. Yeah, I'm gonna hold mine because it's trying to be pulled away a little bit, but then once you put that little flap down, it holds it in place, so it shouldn't matter anymore. Oops. And then we'll take this second one. Never was really good at these finite movements, so just shove it in its hole. There we go. And then just give them a quick little tiny tug, just a gentle tug. That one's in, and there we go. Now you got your ribbon cables back in, so now you can proceed to make sure that they don't fall back into the fans, which they normally don't. Nope, we're all good. Just gonna look from the side real quick. Nope, they are folding back the way they're supposed to. So now we'll get this more straight so you guys can get it more in camera. And now that we've got everything installed, we can just start clicking it back, and you'll hear a bunch of cracks and whatnot. Just be careful not to press so hard that you break your screen or anything, but just give it some firm, but not too hard. Clicks around the whole thing with your hands, and then just go around and just double check and make sure that all of the seals are good. And once you've done that, and we can see that they all are good, we can now, there we go, plop it back in the camera, and now we can put the screws back in. So let's go ahead and do that. Now it's time to put the screws back in. So just go ahead and get your screwdriver, and it's always good to start in a cross pattern. So do one side like that. There we go. So it is a ratcheting screwdriver. All right, and then grab one of your little screws here, and then go to the other side. There we go. That guy's in. So now we can go and get this other longer one in back here. maybe. There we go. And just taut. It doesn't have to be wrenched in there. And then we can put another one of these little ones over here in the other corner. Come on. There we go. And then after that, just keep on going. Now let's go and do this guy. I was trying not to. Normally I'd have my other hand on here and just go like this, but I didn't want to block the camera, but I don't think it's really blocking off the camera. I'd rather not drop this thing and then drop it on my laptop or break my bong or any of that shit. And I can make this go a lot faster now too, because you guys pretty much get the idea. We'll get the middle guy now. Go. Last but not least, let's get this lone soldier here screwed back in. And then after this, we just got one more, I believe. Or nope, two more. Two more, I lied. I'm a liar. We got this one and then the one on the other side of the speaker. There we go. And there we are. Now all of our screws are back and installed. So now we can turn it back over and we can get all of our cords hooked back up and we can boot it up and see if it boots into Windows or if it tells me to go F myself. So let's go find out what happens. Well, here we go. The moment of truth. Did the cloning of the drive and everything work? We'll find out right now. Let's do the first post with the new 2 terabyte Samsung drive in there. Let's see what happens. Will it boot me into Windows or will it tell me, nope, you need to install an operating system? Hell yeah. Take a good look because I rule, baby. If anybody actually knows what movie that's from, you get extra brownie points. But anyway, now I can just sign on in and let's make sure it actually works, because how funny would it be if it was just like, nah. All right, what does it want now? NVMe Express controller, you say? Okay. Well, apparently we have to reboot. So why don't we go ahead and do that? Well, first let's let it finish booting up. Then I'll reboot off camera and then we're pretty much done after that. We can wrap the video on up. Well, all right, guys, we were successful in our endeavor. We were able to install the drive, copy Windows, and everything else. Ran into a couple unforeseen circumstances, but we trucked right through them, didn't let them piss me off or none of that nonsense this time. I was just like, okay, nope, let's just figure out what to do. Looked up a quick YouTube video on how to disable that BitLocker stuff, and then I was like, you know what? That looks complicated. I'm just gonna go see if you could just turn it off by like, some setting in Windows. And lo and behold, you type in BitLocker and search, and it takes you right to where you need to turn off your decryption and all that. So once I found that out, it was easy peasy. But as usual, when I get done with one of these, we'll take ourselves a celebratory victory hit here. Hell yeah. Some nice GMAT. But anyway, that's about all we got for this particular video. Now I think I've covered pretty much all my bases. What to do, how to install an SSD if you're just installing a secondary one, and how to install one if you're kind of weird like me and you just want to keep everything the way it was. Boom, you can do that too. Or you can just take the old drive out, install it in, and install Windows fresh. There's your 3 options. I didn't show the 3rd option, but that one's pretty easy. Put a, USB drive on or get a flash drive, put Windows on it, plop it on in, get the boot drive, and you're ready to go. But anyway, that's all I got for you guys for this particular video. I certainly hope you enjoyed watching it, because I sure as hell enjoyed making it. And until the next video, peace out, guys.